Hi, we're Martha and Mitch, and we thought it was about time that we showed you around our van, as we believe we have created the most perfect and unique layout for a long wheelbase vehicle. We couldn't be prouder with the end product, and we really are excited to show you around. This van took us 3 months to complete as complete beginners, and if you want to see the full process of that, I'll leave the link to our playlist of all the van build in the description box and on the screen here for you to go check out. We will be revealing the cost of this whole renovation at the end of the video, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But now all that's left to do is show you around.
So our van of choice is a MAN TGE long wheelbase high roof panel van. As you can see, it's a 21 plate, which means it was manufactured in 2021. We bought it with 55,000 miles on the clock for £24,000. So as you can see, we've got the standard layout of single, double. The main reason for that is because inside this seat there is a heap of storage, which is where we keep all of our trainers. The only other notable things inside the cab is we fitted a reverse camera, which I think is pretty essential for a long wheelbase van. And the two main differences within this cab is this is half wooden bulkhead and half metal bulkhead, which was essential for how we built the actual living quarters of the van. And also above me, we lowered the height of the roof to create a shelf, which you'll also see within the living quarters of the van. So something that's very important to note with this van is before I touched this van and Martha, we had absolutely no woodwork experience. So a lot of the stuff inside this van is simple but effective in my eyes anyway. That being said, this van was completely made for us. So one of the biggest things that we had to do with inside this van was raise the floor by a whole 2 inches because of the shower that you'll see later. And because of the raising floor height, I was able to make a nice little footwell where we mainly just put our trainers and slippers and so on and so forth.
And now this brings us on very nicely to my favourite part of the van, which is the kitchen area. Pretty much from the get-go we knew that we wanted to do a bulkhead kitchen, just because we knew how much extra space that would give us by having the kitchen this way. And as Mitch mentioned, this is where we added that extra shelf from the cab, and in here we just store all of our coats, jackets and towels. By having the kitchen across the bulkhead area as well, it's been able to make it feel properly like a little kitchen, as we've been able to add tiles and also add little bits, which I will also link everything that you see in the van in the description box below if you want to check it out. The first thing you see when you come into the van is the sink. We decided to go with all black appliances to just match everything in the van. The tap itself has 2 different modes, which is really useful, and it's also deep enough that we can put dishes in there if we don't want to do them straight away and also still drive. Next up along is our stove, and it's nice because it's sunk into the worktop. This is just a Thetford 2-burner gas stove. And one thing that's really nice about the fact that this is in the counter space is that when we wash up, we maximise our counter space even more by being able to close that down and then get our little drying mat and put that on there so that we have as much space as possible along this worktop. And then we have these 2 gorgeous hang-on baskets which were kindly made by Mitch's mum, and again I'll leave the link for her Etsy shop in the description box below. So starting underneath the sink is where we have this one gigantic cupboard which houses our bin, our drinking water, as well as our gas bottle, which is then hooked up to the stove. So then across from that cupboard we have 4 drawers, and then in these 4 drawers, the top one we keep all of our cutlery and kitchen utensils. The second one down is where we keep our bowls, plates, Tupperware. Third one down is where we keep all miscellaneous stuff, including our blender. And then the last one at the bottom is where we keep all of our pots and pans, as well as our induction stove.
So something I stressed about a lot within this van is I wanted every single bit of space to have the most usage possible. So what we did with this kitchen countertop is I came up with an idea that we could leave a void underneath it and turn it into a desk, which as you can see, we have a stool underneath the void, which also acts as a space for our pull-out pantry. So then when we're not using the pantry, the stool can go back underneath and be used as another desk or coffee bar, Martha likes to call it. In front of the desk we have one of our 2 windows that we have in the van. These are Polyvision Aero windows, which aren't a very popular window for a camper van, but I think that this has made the single most difference within the van. The fact that they can open all the way up, both sides that we've got them, and create such a massive airflow through. And because they open up like a hood, I suppose, you can leave them open when it's raining and get no wet inside the van, which is an absolute game changer compared to the sliding windows. And also within the window you get a built-in blackout blind and a fly net, which once again is an absolute game changer. And the last amazing thing about these windows is that at night we leave them just a little bit latched open, so it's not getting condensated inside the van.
The only two overhead cupboards that we have in the kitchen just house more kitchen items that we need. The first one here just has our kettle, coffee, tea, everything like that we need most frequently. And then in the second one is anything that isn't food that's in the pantry, so spices, sauces, things like that go in this one.
A big part of the layout is this dividing wall, which I think actually does what it says on the tin. It divides our kitchen area from our living room area quite well, and also because our toilet, as you'll see, is in the living room area, it sort of just gives that little bit of privacy that you wouldn't otherwise get. It also doubles as our electric hub for all of our instruments, and on the wall we've got our heating control, water control, our water level tank, our max fan remote for the ventilation in the roof, some USB ports and our 240 volt ports. And then as you'll see, we have a lot of spotlights in the roof, and what I decided to do was section them 3 ways down the van. One for the living room, oh this is the kitchen, one for the kitchen, one for the living room and one for the bedroom, and 2 of them are controlled on the wall here. The last cupboard that is sort of within the kitchen area is actually nothing to do with the kitchen. Because the electrics are inside this wall, it made sense for this to become our electrical cupboard. So within here we've got a lot more electrical ports. This is just where everything gets charged and stored away, and it's quite a big unit to be able to do that, so it always looks messy.
One thing that we were super set on in this van is having a big fridge and freezer, and that's why we decided to build this whole layout around this one fridge that we've got. It's a Dometic CFX 75 litre fridge, and it can either be a fridge and a freezer or just a full fridge, and it's honestly been a game changer for being able to keep a lot of food all at once. And it just sits here underneath one of our sofa seats that we can just pull out and grab stuff out and then put it away, and it's out of sight, out of mind.
Now into the living room, but before we actually go into the living room, you've seen what's underneath this sofa. I'll show you what's underneath this sofa. So to access that, we have to get rid of our cushions and put them up to the side. And inside this half of the sofa, we have our swanky danky toilet. Just a basic chemical toilet, which does the job. Something that took a lot of arguing between me and Martha whether this was going to get installed is our wee urinal. Very controversial subject, because all this basically is a little funnel that goes down a pipe and straight out of the van. So it's the same as weeing outside, but you get to do it within the privacy of your van. And I have to say, after all the arguing, it has been one of the best things that we put inside this van. Let me know what your thoughts are on that.
It just feels like you're at a urinal.
So to keep it real, this is actually just our chuck everything in outside out of mine cupboard, but underneath all this rubbish is where our water heater, space heater is. It's a Truma D4E, which is about as good as you can get in terms of water heating, space heating technology. It's a 4 kilowatt space heater that has got 4 pipes that lead to different places in the van, which then blows hot air into the van. But the reason that it's so big is because it also has a 10 litre jacket of water, which you can obviously heat up through diesel power. And the fact that if you have it on the lowest setting, which is what we found is plenty enough to keep us warm inside here, it only uses 220 mil of diesel per hour, which to me is absolutely bonkers.
I would say one of our biggest tips if you are thinking about building a van is buying all your appliances first. So the reason the sofa system is how it is because we knew how big the fridge was going to be and also how big the Truma was going to be, and that's where we worked from there. And it also has meant that we've got some really comfy sofas on both sides. We've got 3-inch foam on the bottom and then halfway up on the back of the sofas, which we'll move on to as to why, as well as we went for 2 cushions on either side, which have also been made by Mitch's mum, and they just match the colour scheme really nicely. I had full rein on how the van was going to look, so we were able to add some nice little aesthetic pieces of some photo frames as well as a couple of plants. It's made this area really nice and cosy. As we need 2 workstations in the van for us both, this is where the table came in. This is just on a lagun table mount and it can be adjusted to whatever height that you want. We have it so it swivels either this way, which is what we tend to use for when we're working, as well as then this way for when we want to eat either side. And then down here to my left of this side is where we have some more electrical charging points for whoever's sat here working, as well as our little Truma thermostat. Oh, and the light switch for over the bed.
The table's big for 2 reasons. One, for it being really good for us to both be able to eat and work on, but secondly, because this all turns into a bed, which I'll set up for you now. There we go. And then you can drop this piece off. So on either side of the sofa, there's a little ridge that we made for the exact same size of the table. So now that the table's in place, we can take both of the cushions, the back cushions from either sofa, and place them in the middle. So this turns into another full-size bed, which is actually longer than our bed, annoyingly, because the van does a bit of a in and out.
And now onto the comfiest bit of the van, which is the bedroom area. We have a custom made 6-inch mattress. We have 2 duvets, which, let us know your thoughts on this. We have slept with 2 duvets since the old van and it's perfect. Next to the bed we both just have 2 reading lights, which have 2 different settings on, and is where we charge our phones in the evening. As well as that, just next to it, which is still kind of in the living room area, is where we keep our 360-degree fan. And in the summer, that is an absolute game changer. So above the bed is our skylight, which, like our windows, has a blackout blind and fly net built in as well. The skylight itself has 3 different settings, and one which is able to be opened fully, which we've used in the past as a way to have a look around us at night if there's anything, because there is no windows at the back of the van. It is nice to be able to pop your head out. We did notice when doing our test run in the van that when it's raining, these bits can be very loud, the max fan included. So when we went back home, we got these made, which is just some 1-inch foam with some leftover sofa material, and these just fit nicely into the skylight and into the max fan, so it just provides a bit more insulation and it noise cancels the area, especially if it's raining really hard. On the opposite side of where we sleep is where we have our overhead cupboards. What we did install along the whole of this cupboard and the other overhead cupboards is an LED strip. So these are just controlled by these little remotes, and you can have loads of different settings and also different strengths of how bright you want the lights to be, which is really nice to create some really nice ambient lighting at night. We have 4 cupboards that run across the whole length of this wall, and in them is where we keep our clothes. So in this first one here is where I keep all of my clothes. I've gone for the packing cube method in mine, which seems to work well for me. Mitch has gone for just a shove-in folded method for all of his clothes, and then along from that we have our pants and socks in one together, and then in the end one is where all of our toiletries are, which can easily be accessed for when we're washing our face or having a shower, which is what we'll bring you on to next.
So this is something that I'm extremely proud of, because what I'm standing on now is actually our shower. And when we were building this van, I'd only seen one other van that had a completely different layout to this, that uses the same strategy of showering that we've got. So I didn't have a lot to work off. Underneath the trapdoor, we have a big stainless steel shower tray, which was a very hard to find. This is the only one I could find without getting it bespoke made that was on the market after lots of searching. So inside of the shower tray, we have our curtain, our shower rail, and our shower head. So what we have to do is we have to remove the head off our tap and then connect on the shower head itself, which then allows you to use the temperature control from the tap for the shower as well, so a 2-in-1 system. And once the tap's turned on, which I've just done, the pressure is within this, and to save water we don't shower with a full running shower, we use a spray nozzle. The shower rail itself is pretty DIY, but it's the only real way that I could think of making this work so that we could collapse it down and put it away. So basically all we've got is 4 lengths of uni-strut and 4 uni-strut corners, which I'll put together, make a square, and then clip in to these 20mm uni-strut clips on the roof. And then we can put the shower curtain up. This was a standard long shower curtain until I found these hooks, which work perfectly for just nipping over the uni-strut to put the shower curtain up. So all you have to do is work your way around with these hooks to create your area for showering. And there it is, all set up. No water actually leaks outside of the shower curtain, so once you're fully boxed in, you've got quite a big area to shower within. Don't you think? All we do is drop the shower head over the top and inside, so you can stand with your shower head and give yourself a spray. Oh, something else that we have yet to do, because you get so comfortable in a van like this, is you can actually shower outside with this as well, which I'm sure we'll use at some point if we go to the beach.
And now it's time for the back of the van. We knew when doing this build that we wanted to have a big garage, as it was important for us to be able to bring all of our adventurous stuff into the van so we could do it wherever we were. So that's exactly what we've done. We've been able to fit 2 full-size mountain bikes in here, as well as climbing gear, hiking gear, camping gear. We have everything to be able to go off and do loads of different adventures, which if you're a subscriber, you'll have seen that we've done loads of things since we've been on this Euro trip so far. We decided not to go for windows on the back doors, mainly for privacy as well as insulation. We just didn't see the need for them. So the only thing that we do have on here is insulation behind these boards, which we felted, and then these 4 hooks here are for our chocks, which we're currently on, so I can't show you.
Although we love this garage, this is the one mistake that I made throughout the van, which haunts me to this day. Like I said, the floor throughout the van needed to be raised by 2 inches for the shower, but actually it didn't need to be raised for the garage, because where the bed dividing wall is, I could have dropped the floor back down and gained that 2 inches for the garage, and with that extra 2 inches I would have been able to put the bikes in the right way round with the back wheels on the whole time. So unfortunately both of the wheels had to come off the bike and sit in the back of the garage, so we have to have some socks on the end of the bike forks so that we don't get oil on the bed sheets all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So comfy.
Perfect.
Is that actually okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the mothership of the van, if that's the right word. This is our absolutely gigantic 460 amp hour lithium battery, which we went big on this because obviously we both work on the van, in the van full time, and we wanted to never have any battery worries, which we had a lot of in the other van. So that's the reason for this big boy. And as well as working in the van, we always stay off grid. We haven't paid for a campsite in the nearly 2 years that we've been staying in vans, so we want to keep it that way if possible. Without going into massive detail, because I don't know how much people know about this stuff, but this is the inverter, which basically just allows you to have your 230 volt stuff, like your blenders, your induction hobs, your shavers, stuff like that throughout the van, which is obviously powering the sockets that you've seen. Throughout the electrical system, I tried to save money where I could. A lot of people go for these big fancy changeover inverters. All we've gone for is a 1200 watt inverter, because I never thought we'd ever need it any more than that, which has sort of proven to be true. And then up here, I've just got a 30 amp hour mains charger, and I'll explain how that works in a second because it's a little bit complicated. Up here, we've got a DC-DC charger, which just allows the battery to get charged while the van's running. And then we've got the solar charger, MPPT solar charger, which is being supplied by 2 250 watt solar panels on the roof. So we've got 500 watts sat on the roof that is on a budget like handmade uni-strut rack, which saved a lot of money. With mains power, I'll try and keep it simple because also my brain's quite simple. Like I say, people have a changeover system a lot of the time now, which is newer technology, where if you plug into a campsite, the changeover will see that you've plugged in and move your 230 volts coming from your inverter to be coming from a campsite. So what I've done to counter that and save a bit of money is up here I've fitted a changeover switch which basically does that but manually. So when you've got it set on 1, the 230 volts is coming from your inverter. If we plug into a campsite, I can move it over to 2, and then the 230 volts supplying the sockets in the van would come from the campsite, which powers up off battery charger. So as soon as we plug into mains power, this battery charger powers up and starts charging our battery up at the rate of 30 amps per hour. And then up here we've just got our fuses for all of our 12 volt appliances. Something you might have noticed is that we can't see what our battery capacity is at, but actually there's Bluetooth device within this battery. So I've got an app on my phone which shows you your current coming in, your current coming out, and the percentage that your battery's sat at. I'll just quickly show you the 2 last relevant things on the side of the van before we round it off and tell you how much this all cost. So the only 2 things that we have on the outside of the van, apart from the windows and the solar panel,
and the fans.
And the fans. So we have got a few things on the outside of the van, but in terms of trying to stop cutting loads of holes in the van, we've just got our water point and also the exhaust from our water heater and trimmer basically.
So the total renovation cost for this van came in at a total of £12,078.10. And then, like we mentioned at the start, the van cost £24,000. So then adding them together, it comes to a total of £36,078.10.
Sounds like a lot of money, but when you see some of these vans on the market, you'll know that that's not too bad. But let us know what you think, if you'd be happy with that price for making this van. I'm happy with it, I think, so we'll see what happens in years to come.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. We're happy with the van. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed. And that concludes the van tour. I hope you've enjoyed seeing around our home. We'll catch you in the next one.